might repeat a few things you said in your presentation because we didn't really record it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Welcome to Toronto. Thanks for gracing us with your presence at TCAF and at this lovely political cartoon event.
Yeah.
So what came first for you? A passion for politics or the passion for drawing comics?
Comics. Like, when I was a kid, my main life goal was to pencil X-Men. And it still might be a goal. Like, I want to check that off someday. Like, I want to draw an issue of X-Men. But, it sort of evolved with, I guess, my age and what I was into. I was into superhero comic books. Then in high school, I was into indie stuff and real into Dan Clowes and Robert Crumb. And I followed all kinds of comics, but I didn't really follow editorial cartoons or think of doing an editorial cartoon until I had something political to say, which, coincided with the climate after 9/11. That also, I was 18 at the time and sort of, a young man becoming mature and forming political thoughts. So, it's kind of hard to say if 9/11 hadn't happened and the run-up to the Iraq War hadn't happened, would I have still ended up being an editorial cartoonist? I mean, I sort of think so, but I don't know. Maybe I would be penciling X-Men right now.
So how do you go about crafting a meaningful cartoon that will still resonate with people after the media has moved on to another issue?
Yeah. Mainly, I see what I got in my notebook and how much time until the next deadline, and then I just, get the best idea on paper and get it out the door. No, but, I don't know. It's kind of... I do these things kind of so fast because I'm doing 3 a week, and I basically pump them out and I don't really think about them anymore. And some I hate, and I come back to, and I think they're some of my best stuff, and then something I think is great, and I'm like, oh, this is the most kick-ass editorial cartoon. It's gonna take the internet by storm, and then it's got 9 likes on Facebook, and I'm like, I guess that sucked. I mean, you can see from the comics I showed, it's some are geared more towards being funny, and some are kind of not funny at all, and develop to deliver a punch or make a explicit political point. There's no real rhyme or reason to when I'm doing that. It is kind of about what is the best idea I have at the time. But I do, make a conscious attempt to not do fluff like a lot of editorial cartoonists do. Not do something that's about basically what I call news of the day comics, where it's Tiger Woods in the news, and then the debt's in the news. So you draw Tiger Woods in the sand pit, whatever they call those things in golf, the sand trap, something, and then that's debt, and he's trying to get out.
You talk a lot about boring, silly political cartoons that do nothing about it. Is that an attempt to motivate people to actually put meaning into their political cartoons? And
yeah, I think I've had some effect in that. Well, I mean, first it's just kind of, I think that's a sentiment that's widely felt. That's what I get. That's what I'm hearing. And the brilliant parody in The Onion every week by Kelly, if you've ever seen that, he does a fake mainstream editorial cartoon that's hilarious. And I think the existence of that kind of proves that there's a cultural awareness beyond just me of that normal editorial cartoons are bad, or they're the only form of cartooning that really works in a different visual language. I mean, whether you're reading manga or superhero comics or autobio stuff or whatever, it's all just words and pictures. It's comics. It's people talking. There's balloons and captions. There's not visual metaphors with labels on them. I mean, editorial cartooning is sort of the only thing that requires an internal language, to understanding an internal language to get a cartoon. I think that kind of is a barrier for a lot of people, especially. I think it's a huge barrier in getting across humor. I just don't think that's the best way to. I don't think it's the best way to make political points or get humor across. So it's not the type of work that I do.
I totally agree, man. It's stale. And honestly, your work is just so refreshing compared to all the
Well, I think there's also there's also kind of a personal motivation to me talking down those cartoons, which is trying to tear down the establishment that exists and
rebuild your own.
Yeah, although I guess it would just be me because there's not really anybody drawing editorial cartoons anymore. But there is like kind of the generation before me of, alt weekly cartoonists like Tom Tomorrow and Ted Rall and other people like that who kind of pioneered doing these types of comics, which are still considered, alternative, but to me they're mainstream, or they're just comics. They're like I said, we're using words and pictures. There's nothing unusual or alternative about them. It's like calling Nirvana alternative. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe you're inspiring a whole new generation of political cartoonists. That'd be cool.
I don't. There's so few jobs, I don't want the competition.
Is there ever anything that causes you to revisit a certain issue that you've expressed in a comic once before, and you just feel the need that it needs to be brought back?
Yeah, I mean, I do that stuff all the time. I feel like I have my regular beats, like my drone beat and my Gitmo beat. I mean, like Gitmo, I've probably done, I don't know how many Gitmo cartoons I've done over the years. Everybody now, not everybody still, but a lot of people are all, want Gitmo shut down, and it wasn't like that for a while. Like, in 2004 and 2005 and 6, it was like the consensus was that we should just keep everyone there forever. And I kind of made it a point to, bring it up regularly. Like, I guess I was talking about shoehorning, mashing up news events or whatever. So I did that once as a way to get Gitmo in the news, and it was the BP oil spill. And they were cleaning up the pelicans and the animals and stuff because they were covered in oil. And so I drew. Gitmo was not in the news at all. There was nothing going on. There was no hunger strike. There was no one. There had been no news peg for 2 years. And so I drew 2 Gitmo guys, detainees, saying, "Hey, here they're gonna clean us up and relocate us." And the guy says, "No, it's for brown pelicans, not brown people." So that was like,
Slip that in under the radar.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm going to talk about Gitmo now.
Do you ever come out during a comic and take a specific stance on an issue, and then later, you get more information or something's changed, and then you find yourself taking the complete opposite position? I've
never been wrong. Although I'm gonna have trouble, thinking of a specific example. God, that's a good question. Actually, there's no cartoon that I've retracted or 100% have turned around on, but there's probably cartoons that I didn't convey my actual point very clearly or subtly, or might have shifted somewhat. I honestly can't think of one off the top of my head. I might have to get back to you on that.
That's okay. I just think the brilliance about your work is the fact that you aren't aligned with a specific party, so you can have, different opinions depending on what issue it's about, and really just talk about the issue itself.
Yeah, God, I really want to think of something, because I'm sure that there have, but I've drawn over 1,000 of these, so I don't have instant recall of them all.
Is there anything else you do in terms of political activism, or do you just sort of portray your opinions and feelings through comics in hopes that drives people to get more involved in politics? And
yeah, I guess that's how I would describe it. One of the reasons is I don't really have time to do anything else. I mean, I work out of my house and work a lot, almost all day, every day practically. Because I also do freelance work to help pay the bills, because editorial cartooning isn't like...
in a cash cow?
No, surprisingly. So, yeah, I barely leave my house. But kind of, I don't know that editorial cartooning is more important than actual, activism and people organizing out on the streets or anything like that, or how much it does. But what I kind of view my role as is, I have kind of a bigger soapbox than most people. I mean, I'm not in a ton of places, but I got a little square in newspapers every week that I can talk about whatever I want, and I can label a sinking ship debt, or I can, talk about war and Gitmo and reproductive rights and gay rights and stuff like that. So I guess, and that's my tiny contribution is like, shifting the discussion ever so slightly to the few people who pay attention to me.
Is there a political subject matter that you've attempted to analyze, but you found it too complex or sensitive to really put forth in a cartoon?
What don't I do cartoons on? I don't know. Well, the whole Muhammad thing is really it's really touchy. There was worldwide riots about it. There's a lot of debate and political cartooning about that, and I've kind of drawn some cartoons about it before. Not exactly drawing Muhammad, but kind of toying with the whole idea. And some people have, and some people think it's racist or whatever. But then it's the prohibition against drawing it makes people want to draw it. And I think cartoonists are more apt to want to combat that than your average person. And I think especially basically liberals, to generalize, don't think it contributes to Islamophobia and insults people that are from countries that we're invading and everything. But there's also the free speech angle and everything. So I guess what I'm getting to is that I've had a few ideas that I've shelved because I didn't know that I could draw the cartoon that was going to be interpreted correctly and how I wanted it to be interpreted.
Cool. On the flip side, you spoke a bit about hate mail in your presentation. Can you recall the first hate mail you've got and how you responded to it, and how did you take it eventually and turn around and take it lightly?
I think it's great. I don't even get them anymore because people don't write. Email is old fashioned. People used to take the time to sit down and write an email, and now if you don't like something, you don't write the person an email. You just post it on Facebook and say, "Look at this fucking horseshit," and so that's what people do. They don't write me emails anymore. I did get one from a guy actually just before I left. It was the first one I got in a long time. But it wasn't, it was just this guy ranting, and I just deleted it. But so it's it's kind of disappointing because I want to keep putting the hate mail in the book, but I don't get it as much anymore. But I don't remember the first one I got at all. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's just especially with the internet now. I mean, the internet was way different even than when I started 10 years ago. I mean, now it's people give me shit all day on Twitter, and I have to decide who I want to waste my time arguing with or ignore.
With this new book, Life Begins at Incorporation, what do you hope to achieve? What is the message you want to send out with this piece?
Well, I mean, it's sort of the encapsulation of all my work since I started. I kind of dropped the ball on ever collecting my work in book form because I didn't have a publisher, and anthologies are kind of a tough sell. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it not just cartoons that I had printed before, but so I wrote 22,000 words in these short essays that there's a drone chapter, Obama chapter, kind of all the major topics that I hit on, and it's basically my entire worldview. And I read kind of some of the salient parts of my theory about editorial cartooning in there, and so that's I think kind of what I read tonight about editorial cartooning might be my main thesis about what I'm trying to do here, which is I guess like I said, just kind of occupying this small space and maybe changing a few minds, which actually does happen. So I always get the preaching to the choir question, and I have heard from people that say that political cartoons have essentially helped change their worldview, help form their worldview. My web designer is one of them. He was a reader, so that actually happens sometimes.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming and joining us tonight, and thanks for this awesome book.
Yeah, thanks. Cool.